What it do, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 4 of the SUR Files here. It is usually the one and only, the nefarious one, Joshie Lopez here on this beautiful Friday morning, April 3rd, 2026, coming to you from the great state of Florida, ready to talk to you about some Bravo. Time to talk about some Valley and a lot of things in between. As I said, I am the one and only Josh Lopez here. Matt McCool is not with us for this week's episode. He's very busy. But our plan is, as we do this relaunch of the podcast, we're going to do strive our best to record these episodes immediately following The Valley, which airs on Bravo TV every Wednesday night at 8/7 Central. And if you live in the Pacific Northwest or just the Pacific in general, figure it out for yourself. I hope you guys are doing well. By the way, I appreciate the viewership and some of the feedback that I've been getting for the audiobook that I wrote called Scandival, #Scandival, my project on obviously the most controversial thing to come out of Bravo TV, maybe outside this new drama that's going on with Amanda Batula and West Wilson from Summer House. I mean, I find it, very ironic that we have a new scandal from Summer House, which is, I wouldn't say all the way similar to what happened on Vanderpump Rules. I mean, it's kind of apples and oranges, but the timing's very, very interesting. I'm going to save that conversation for when I record with Matt, because he's more familiar with the Summer House show than I am. So I get his perspective on it. But speaking of Scandival, the audiobook, I spent a lot of time and thought into this project. I wrote it for about 2.5 months, close to 3 months. It took for me to really write down what I wanted to say and project. Now, this is not a full book. Like I said, this is a mini book. It turned into an audiobook. I did the recording of the audiobook last week. It's on our YouTube page if you want to check it out right now at the SUR Files on YouTube. The SUR Files, inspiration obviously from the SUR restaurant, SUR, in West Hollywood, but also SUR Files name also is the inspiration from the Vile Files for Nick Viall, who's a big reality TV podcaster. But the concept of the show and the inspiration behind it is to showcase the history of Vanderpump Rules. The show called The Valley is a spin-off of Vanderpump Rules, so that's also included in this project. And for those who are familiar with us on our TikTok page at SUR Files, SUR Files, this has been a very vastly growing community that I've been growing on TikTok. We're very close to like 4,000 followers, over 7 million views already for the old clips and scenes that have been pulling up on onto our TikTok page. That's really where the files are shown on the SUR Files, is on our TikTok page. So make sure to follow us on TikTok and on YouTube. We also have an Instagram page. I've always struggled with Instagram. I'm not great with like graphic designs and slicing up video, like shorts and stuff like that. That's not my strength. I'll be honest with you guys with that. But besides that, we do have an Instagram page if you want to follow us there at the SUR Files. But I'm on Instagram at Josh Lopez Music, and you can follow me there. And also, the most important thing that I can stress, I want to give a shout out to the good people at Odyssey, the Odyssey Creator Network Lab, who have been the hosts for the Who's podcast, getting into our final episode. But now you can hear this particular podcast, the SUR Files, every single week, anywhere you get your podcast from. The SUR Files will drop. We'll record them on Wednesdays and probably drop them on the Friday morning like we used to do in the past with the Hoots podcast. So that's kind of the goal now, what we're doing here. But besides that, for today, this week's episode, we are going to get into it, and we're going to talk about the debut of Season 3 of The Valley. I'm going to give my thoughts just collectively from what I saw, but also along the way, I'm going to play a couple pieces of audio from the after show. This is a concept that I'm bringing back for the Hoots podcast. I think audio content is very good for context and substance purposes, especially for the angles or storylines that will have to be addressed on these shows. But I think for the most part, I think you guys are going to be in for a fun ride with this project. I hope you guys give it a chance, and I appreciate the opportunity for you guys giving me the platform to come on here and speak about Bravo TV and reality television. So also don't forget, I'm going to be reading a chapter from Scheana Shay's book, My Good Side, today. We'll get into that very soon as well. So let's do it. Let's talk about the Valley, shall we? So, mind you, my journey through Bravo television has always been through only the Vanderpump Rules show. I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of the Housewives. I know that franchise has been around for like 15, close to 20 years. I have no time to catch up with all those shows in all the cities that are attached to the Housewife franchise. Kind of similar to the same thing. I don't have time to watch like Southern Charm or Southern Hospitality. I just don't. With the amount of wrestling that I cover and how much lack of money that I make from it, I mean, it's my job, so I had to cover these shows. So with the amount of time that I put into wrestling throughout the week, I there's not a lot of time for me to watch other shows. I mean, my other like escapes for television right now is obviously The Valley with this new project here, but also I watch House of Villains on Thursdays to get my Tom Sandoval fix. I'm sure that's gonna make a lot of people happy to hear that. But honestly, time is limited for myself. Like I just don't have that much time to watch reality television. So when I do, I'm very precise with what I want to watch. So it was always Vanderpump Rules. So I watched the entire franchise from season 1 to all the way through season 11 and that reunion. And then after that, my friend Matt told me about The Valley, which is the spinoff of the show. And I ended up watching both of those seasons, and it had some of the original cast members from VPR, like Kristen Doty, Jax Taylor, Brittany was on the show. You get cameos here and there from Lala and Scheana and Schwartz over the first couple of seasons, but those first couple of seasons was really showcasing this other side of the friend group that was attached to Vanderpump Rules, where you have couples that had kids already who were, I want to say they're old, but they're in their 30s and 40s. That's not old. I'm not throwing any shade. I mean, hell, I'm turning 32 next month, so it's crazy to think about. Like at first, when I saw Lala on Vanderpump Rules, I thought like this girl would be like 10 years older than me or whatever. I found out the other day that she's 35. Like the girl's like 3.5 years older than me. It's crazy to think that. But anyways, I watched The Valley, and I like the show. Obviously, it's a high bar to reach to compare to Vanderpump Rules, but I enjoy The Valley as a concept and the show for what it is. Get to introduce myself to people like, let's say, Zach Wickham. He's I wouldn't call him a pot stirrer, but he's definitely a tea stirrer. He definitely likes to talk a lot of shit, and him and Jasmine are kind of like that in the group. Jasmine is getting married this season to her girlfriend Melissa, so congratulations to them. They're currently engaged. Jesse Lally, shout out to him. He's a Taurus brother. Jesse is in this season kind of taking over the Jax role. For those who don't know, Jax Taylor decided to remove himself for the taping of season 3 following the actions and behavior that he was conducting himself during last season. And I want to start this off with saying, because I am a big advocate for mental health, I know a lot of people are upset with Jax Taylor and don't want to see him on television and stuff like that. If you have a harsh stance towards Jax and the actions that he's done, not only on this show but also VPR in the past, I understand that. I think people deserve second chances in life, and I'm glad to see that he's taken this time to work on himself. And I enjoyed Jax from an entertainment standpoint. From a wrestling standpoint, Jax would be a perfect heel. in the wrestling space. So it's hard. It's hard to separate that from myself. Sometimes I'm watching these shows. It's hard to get that wrestling like lenses out of my peripherals when I'm watching these shows. So yeah, I get on the surface of, oh man, this guy is terrible. He cheated on his best friend with his girlfriend in the same room, in the same apartment, while his friend Tom is sleeping in the bedroom. Cheated on his wife. Goes out of his way to sabotage everything that happens. Wannabe alpha male. Practically got himself fired for talking shit to Lisa Vanderpump on season 8. We all know the whole drill with Jax, and then everything that we saw last season with him and Brittany got very, very dark. Just overly toxic, and got to the point where he revealed that he had a cocaine addiction, and then he went to rehab and multiple rehabs, and we haven't heard from him a lot recently. You know, I was a fan of his podcast, A Mind of a Man. I enjoy Jax from an entertaining standpoint, and you know, he's definitely one of those people I would like to meet down the road, because you know, we're not. This is not a perfect society. We all make mistakes, and I think it took a lot of vulnerability and accountability for himself to go and admit in public that he had an addiction problem. It doesn't immune him from the mistakes that he's made, but I don't like holding shit over people's head. That's kind of the same thing how I feel about Tom Sandoval in a lot of ways. Like I don't despise the guy. Shit happens. People make mistakes. I'm a person that's been cheated on. I multiple times in my life. I don't carry that shit over. Like that stuff's in the past. Like he didn't kill anybody. Obviously, it's in the way he went about it was not right and not cool. I don't vouch for that. I don't condone what he did to Ariana, but you got to move on, man. Like, there's more to Tom Sandoval than what he did to Ariana. He's not a criminal. Like, the way people went down on him during that whole situation was just ridiculous, in my opinion. So, I don't want to drift too way in the sidebar with this, but honestly, you know, I want to support the cast members. I'm a fan of the Valley. I got introduced to these people like Zach and Jasmine, and then we got Janet and Jason, who are kind of the new villains in this project called The Valley. And for those who haven't watched the show, Janet definitely has some Karen energy to her. I could definitely see that for sure. But on the other hand, Jason, I haven't got a read on him for the first 2 seasons, and I don't know what it is. I don't have anything bad to say about the guy. He keeps himself, and that's not a bad trait. But it's hard to read him sometimes because like he plays it like low key as the show goes on, but when you watch like the actor shows and stuff like that, he does talk a lot of shit about a lot of people, and that kind of like 50-50, like I'd rather you be upfront with me than be like, oh hi, how you doing, and then you're talking shit about me behind my back, you know. Like I don't vibe with that. So I can't get a read off of Jason. And I mean, Janet, she loves the sound of her voice. I will say that she does get annoying after a while, but also on the safe front, I don't have any issues with her. I don't. I mean, I know the drama with her and Kristen got maybe a little bit annoying during last season, and that looks like that's not going to end in this season either. But I know a lot of people have it out for Janet. I wouldn't say that I dislike her. I'm more of a 50-50, close to indifference point of view when it comes to her. She doesn't affect my mood one way or another. I will say I do admire her standing up for human rights things and using her platform on Instagram to speak up on things that matter. Obviously, there's a lot of crappy stuff going on in this world right now, so it's cool for her to stand up and do stuff like that, activism, stuff like that. But besides that, we got Kristen Doty. her fiance Luke. They met at a wedding about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and he was from Colorado. She's in California. Originally, Luke is from Indiana. Now he's living in California with Kristen begrudgingly. He doesn't want to be in California. He kept to himself for the first couple of seasons. They got engaged last season in Hawaii. Congratulations to them. They just had the birth of their daughter, Kaya. With this episode today called You Can't Sip With Us, they had the Sip and See event for Kristen and Nia. That was kind of the main event for this first episode. So they had the first gathering with the friend group in this event in Sherman Oaks, California. And Adelaide is the daughter for Nia and Danny Bucco. Danny Bucco has made, he's an actor, but also a voice actor. He's made a couple appearances on different shows over the years, like Hannah Montana, a lot of stuff on Disney. Danny Bucco, if you type on Google, he'll come out very similar. Familiar to a lot of you guys that watch Disney over the years, but he's a voice actor, and they have 4 kids. And they had this like running bit on the show over the first couple of seasons where they like, hey, we're 3 under 3. How about 4 under 4? Now they have 4 kids, and Danny couldn't help himself on this first episode. He's like, all right, we're 4 under 4, but how about one more? So this nut job wants 5 kids. More power to, I guess. But Nia looks like she's putting the foot down on that. Now, for those who don't know who Nia is a longtime model, pageant person. She was a former Miss USA. I forgot which year it was, but she is a former Miss USA. And there's a tie to this from a Vanderpump point of view. She was one of the judges and like teachers and mentors for Rachel Leviss when she was in the modeling and pageant world during her early years on Vanderpump Rules. So that was an interesting time. Also knowing that Lalo was joining the cast this season. I wonder if there was going to be some indirect backlash towards Nia just due to the fact that she does have ties to Rachel. They do follow each other on social media. That was a point of contention. That was the only reason I knew that was the case. It didn't bother me. Trust me, as I've been getting into this reality television space and learning more about the Bravo fans, they are just as weird and paranoid and obnoxious as professional wrestling fans are with things that really don't matter and shouldn't affect their personal lives. But Twitter is good Twitter, right? Anyways, so for Nia, for those who don't know about her, like I said, she's a former Miss USA, and she carries a lot of pageant characteristics with her. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is not towards her. If you see her on the surface, you may think that she's stuck up or selfish or I'm trying the best way to describe it, but she's very keen on things like she likes to project a good image. And I do give Danny and Nia props. They do a lot of showcasing their passion and their faith in God. They're a Christian couple, and I do admire them for being open about that, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And Nia does a lot of cool like influencer entrepreneurship stuff on Instagram and social media. You may know what she looks like and stuff like that, but I will say she's definitely one of the hottest people on the show. I just gotta keep it 100. That girl's a smoke show. But besides that, Danny and Nia are part of the group. Danny's had a history with some bad interactions with other cast members because he's had sort of a drinking problem over the first couple of seasons, and that ended up into some bad interactions with other cast members. And they call him Dark Side Danny or Danny Darko, and that's one of the ongoing feuds that's going on right now on the show. Then we got what I think is probably, in my opinion, one of the more tension wrestling storyline heat things that I could notice from this show is the dynamic between Jesse and Michelle, and now we have Lacey, who's now joining the cast. Lacey is the new girlfriend for Jesse. Jesse had a divorce with Michelle. Michelle wanted the divorce with Jesse, but I think it also goes over people's head that Michelle cheated on Jesse while they were married to each other. I find that fact to be interesting, that these people put a blind eye to it because people have it out for Jesse and how he carries himself. Jesse, in a lot of ways, does have some understandable qualities, and I'm not saying that's a knock. You know, you are who you are. But both Jesse and Michelle are real estate agents in LA. Jesse was also a model. I think Jesse was also in a relationship with Anna Nicole Smith back in the day. Jesse's, I would probably say, the elder statesman of this show. He's in his mid-40s. That's not a knock towards him. It is what it is. But Jesse has no filter. He doesn't give a shit who he offends. And he's just himself. So I kind of admire him for that point of view. But him and Michelle got divorced. Michelle has made it clear on the show over the first couple of seasons that she has this hard stance when it comes to basically dealing with exes. Like, she has a strict rule where she just cuts all exes off. It's a different situation here because obviously you're moving off your ex-husband. She brought in a new guy during season 2 named Aaron. They ended up breaking up. She revealed on the episode on Wednesday for the premiere that Aaron broke up with her because she wasn't fit enough to his standards. And I'm watching the show, and I remember this dude had some beady eyes, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you need to get your eyes checked. I'd probably say, outside of Nia and Lala, Michelle's probably the hottest cast member on this entire show. Like, what are you doing, dude? And he broke up with her. Like, it wasn't the other way around. Like, I think Michelle even said on the episode, she's like, I'm usually the one that's like breaking up with people, and that just wasn't the case. Like, he broke up with her, and I don't know. I felt really bad for Michelle in that situation, and she's in a space now where she's focusing on herself. She does a very good job as a real estate agent, from what I've noticed. And she's doing good for herself. They have a daughter named Isabella, who's 5 years old. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Brittany Cartwright for what she's done with Cruz. Cruz is the son of Brittany and Jax. Yesterday was World Autism Awareness Day, and Cruz is on the spectrum, kind of like myself. Cruz, he's been having like issues when it comes to like speaking, but his personality is showing. So and they don't go into much detail, but Cruz is on a spectrum. They have a sensory room for him in the house, which I thought was really cool. A sensory room for her, for Cruz, and Cruz is a really cool kid. It was so cute when they started the episode, and they had him like running up close to the camera. I thought that was awesome. But I want to give a shout out to Brittany amongst all the shit that she had to deal with during season 2, and just her marriage in general with Jax and that entire relationship. For how strong she carried herself with poise and being there for her son, I have a lot of respect for Brittany Cartwright and what she put herself through and what she's overcome in the healing process that she's went through. She had a mommy makeover. She's working on herself. And for a girl from Kentucky that had nothing to her name besides a Hooters background, to see where she is now with all the endorsement deals that she has and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of Brittany Cartwright, and I wish not the best for her. I hope she finds somebody that makes her happy. She deserves it. But I want to give props to her from a parent point of view, because what she's done with Cruz is just phenomenal, and she deserves her flowers for that. So I kind of gave you the lay of the land of what the Valley is. Now we can get into the episode itself. So episode 1 is You Can't Sip With Us, hence the title of this week's episode of the podcast. And you look at the show, started off with oh man, I felt in a lot of ways that the producers were going out of their way. Hey, how can we piss Jax off during this episode? Whether it was knocking the Jax sign off of his old sports bar, I don't know if that was taped in advance before the filming of the show. They go to that. Then we get to Brittany's story about her hooking up with this guy that she used to be friends with in Kentucky. Now, mind you, this season was taped during the last summer, so a lot of this is out of advance. Brittany and Brandon are not together anymore. This is more of a hookup situationship type of thing. And Brittany, she was on cloud nine. Like this is the whole, I got my sparkle back. So we had that going on. And I think she said on the episode that he had BDE, like big dick energy or whatever. And I'm like, oh boy, yeah, that's gonna make Jax happy. You know damn well that dude watched that episode last night, or my bad, on Wednesday. But so I'm watching this, and like, how can we piss off Jax? That's like the vibe that I got from this episode. That was the first observation. The second part is this. I don't know if this is gonna be a season long plot point, but with the birth that Kristen had with their daughter Kaya, Luke has been expressing frustration for the fact that over the past couple of months they haven't been as romantically intimate with each other since the birth of their child. We all get it. You're in a relationship with somebody, people have needs. I get that, but also from a guy's point of view, especially someone like myself who's never had kids before, I don't think it's a place for a guy to tell a woman when she should be ready and have confidence within her body to be like, oh, I'm ready to get back on that train again. You know, like, again, it's not my place to speak on that type of stuff. I never had any kids, so it's not my place to speak on that. So I don't know if this could be just a struggle that he's dealing with himself the entire season, or this is just be a first couple episodes type of thing. But he was really stressing that point throughout the entire episode, like frustrated. She shuts down every opportunity that he asks towards her for sex and stuff, and that was what it was. By the way, they showed their dog Jill on the episode. That got me a little sad. For those who don't know, Jill passed away a couple months ago, so I'd send my condolences to Kristen and Luke for the passing of their dog Jill. So it was cool to see the dog on the show, but it's also kind of emotional seeing that too. From there, we got Zach. Zach is openly a gay cast member of the show. Zach is very funny. He's a really cool dude. But I also said, like, he's kind of a pot stirrer. So he met up with Tom Schwartz. We got to see Schwartz back on the scene. He says that he had a rough couple years and he's ready to rediscover himself again. And when you look at what's going on with Schwartz, now he has a new girlfriend, and he's just trying to find his Schwartz again and be in a happy place, because he's had dealt with a lot of crazy drama and personal issues back home for the better part of 3 years. So good to see Schwartz on a TV screen again. So they met up at this bar, Zach and Tom, and Zach is kind of like, I won't say venting, but he's already thrown out red flags about Brandon and his intentions towards Brittany. For those who don't know, Zach is best friends with Brittany and Kristen. That's his dynamic on the show, and basically he's looking out for Brittany's best interest. He admitted it that Brandon already has said that he loves her, and is Brittany rushing things for validation. So that's gonna be interesting how that plays out the next couple episodes. Zach mentioned that he's in an open relationship with his boyfriend Benji, and that's going on there. I didn't know that they didn't make that. I thought that was just a thing. They were just together. I didn't know that was an open relationship, but so that is what it is. Jasmine and Melissa, I mentioned them earlier. They are getting ready to get married. They're engaged. So I'll say this was very Vanderpump Rules-esque in how Jasmine carried herself in this episode. I got total Scheana Shay vibes of how she was getting ready for that Mike Shay wedding in the earlier seasons, not the wedding that she had with Brock, but just how Jasmine was explaining all the things that are going into the wedding. It was also kind of similar to how Scheana was describing how much she loved Rob and how many great things Rob could do. Rob could hang a TV in less than under 7 minutes and stuff like that. So I don't know, that part of the episode did crack me up a little bit, I will say. We had tension still going on, like I said, with Janet and Kristen. Also, Janet's had issues with Danny and Nia too. Y'all can see those in the reunions in the past couple seasons. You can find Valley, by the way, on Peacock if you guys want to watch the show. But from there, we get into other aspects of the show. Lala enters the scene. Let's talk about Lala. Now, mind you, if you guys ask me, hey Joshie, who's your favorite cast member? Who are you excited the most to see in this season for the Valley? I'll tell you, it's Lala. And I am a big fan of Lala. Obviously, she's smoking hot for obvious reasons, but also I'm a big fan of her podcasts. Both of her podcasts, Untraditionally Lala and The Unlikely Affair that she has with Amber Childers. That's the podcast that they have with each other. And I'm just a big fan of her as a person. Maybe because she's a Virgo, or I don't know. I just really vibe with Lala's energy and how genuine she is and how she carries herself. And I know a lot of people gave her a lot of crap and how she carried herself in that last season of Vanderpump Rules, but I understood where she was coming from, and I know that's going to be a controversial take, but I have to be honest with you guys. I get where she was coming from and where she was at that point during that season. So to see her work on herself and get back to a place where she's happy with herself to get back to television, I'll tell you what, man, she didn't skip a beat. She didn't skip one beat. When I was watching the episode on Wednesday, she was just right back in form. Now, with Lala, you could call her a pot stirrer if you want, but she's also a good listener, and she's here for the tea and the drama and stuff like that. That's kind of part of the reason why we watch some of these shows. So not only was she there to listen to Janet complain about how things went down at this pool party that Brittany was throwing, and basically Kristen and Janet are still butting heads with each other, and Kristen snapped at Janet while they're at Brittany's house for Brittany's pool party, saying that Janet shouldn't be here and stuff like that, and Janet went away. We have Lala here in this situation, and this is where the audio is going to come in here. I want to show this from the people that were on the show and explain what happened at this pool party, because I think it's important to address this was going on prior to filming starting. And let's play a little bit. This is from the Valley after show.
Hi, congrats, and then kind of move towards the pool, but before I could even get past the living room. It was like, why is she here? She doesn't deserve to be here. Brittany, she was yelling at Brittany.
She didn't yell at Janet, but she yelled loud enough for Janet to 100% hear.
I said it like this: she shouldn't be here.
And did for a minute.
I wanted to make sure she could hear me. It was an announcement.
Kristen came in hot. Kristen just made it very clear that she was not welcome there, not wanted there, and it was there was a lot of commotion, but it was very brief. Janet was like, "All right."
Janet had Cameron with her, so it's sort of like she's not going to have a shouting match.
Oh, Cam was there?
Yeah.
I don't remember Cam being there.
Because he's only there for 10 seconds.
Cameron, isn't around people yelling often, so I immediately, swooped him up and was just like, I gotta get out of here.
Kristen definitely was in the wrong. It was not her home to tell anybody to get out.
Kristen just got triggered by her walking in, not expecting to see her.
Kristen was aware Janet was coming. Janet was aware Kristen could still be there. So there was no, miscommunication in that part.
Brittany and I got Botox that morning. Brittany was telling me who was coming over, and she did invite Janet, but she's definitely not even going to come.
Brittany told me that she told Kristen, Janet's coming over. Cameron's going to want to swim. So I was like, he'll be in the pool the whole time. I assume Kaya, since she's a newborn, will be inside. There'll be a natural separation for us anyway.
We're getting ready to leave to go to Brittany's, and she tells me Janet probably is coming over, and I said, okay, well, we'll come first, and just let me know when she's coming, and then we'll leave.
It was Kristen's first time coming out with Kaya.
Yes.
And Janet wasn't coming over till after 4.
Right.
So maybe Kristen would have already been gone by then, but I don't know. Kristen was still there.
I know that Brittany wouldn't lie to me to get me over there. I think Brittany was just, when she realized Janet really was going to come, she was trying to find a way to have us both there at different times.
Yeah,
and
play the middle kind of.
Yeah.
I try to just invite everybody and let them deal with their own thing,
At this point, we had only brought Kaya over to Mia's house and one other friend's house who has a baby.
If you don't want your daughter to be around that many people, keep her home. That's what we quarantined at that time. But I think if you bring your daughter to a pool party, you can't, dictate who's there.
It wasn't even a pool party. It was just a hang.
There was only a handful of people there, probably 6 people at Brittany's house.
It's not big
that
at all.
big. It was 10, 11.
The house was full.
I mean, there was probably 18, 20 people there.
Kristen and I do have the right to have Kai around who we choose to, and being told someone Kristen absolutely does not like isn't going to be there, then shows up. Yeah, Kristen recently postpartum. She had every right to speak her mind.
Just don't be around me. Don't be around me and my baby, and I don't want your energy around Kaya. It could be contagious. It's like cooties.
They're obviously mutual friends, so they can coexist in a 5,000 square foot house.
It was the nicest thing I could have done, was she shouldn't be here. She's lucky I was holding my baby.
And now that I remember, on the way out, Kristen was like, "F you too, Cam." And I was like, Cameron caught a stray from Kristen. I'm just kidding now.
All right. So that was the interesting there. You thought there'd be reconciliation, but we all saw what happened during season 2, and I don't think that beef's going to be ending anytime soon. But with that being said, we should continue on here on the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it so far. This is the SUR Files. You're truly Joshie Lopez here. Rocking and rolling here on this Friday, April 3rd, talking about episode 3 of The Valley. Not episode 3, my bad. The season 3 premiere of The Valley. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys, by the way, for those who are watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to the SUR Files right now, let me know in the comment section down below how you guys felt about this premiere episode, and let me know who's your favorite cast member. I'd love to build a community with you guys. By the way, you guys can do us a favor on YouTube. Make sure to hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. That way we can build our following. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and any help would be appreciated on that end. So we appreciate that. But I want to build a community with you guys. Let me know how you guys felt about this episode. Who's your favorite cast member? And what are your predictions and projections for season 3 of The Valley? So I'd love to hear from you guys on that front. But let's continue on here with the show. So I brought up all the stuff going on with Kristen and Luke. We talked about that. We got the Michelle and Lacey dynamic that ended this episode at the Sip and See, which I thought was very, very interesting. And I thought it was very good at how they laid this out, and they showed the footage of her popping up at the season 2 finale, that Yamashiro Zen event that wasn't Zen. And they showed all this footage, and Brock and Scheana was there. I have a really feeling that Brock and Scheana were going to play a big role on this season if they were going to be on the show. Obviously, they were not. She decided not to be on the show, and now her and Lala are no longer friends. And as Lala said in recent interviews, she has nothing to say about Scheana. So, yeah, that doesn't look like that's gonna be fixed anytime soon. I don't know if it was something that bad where Scheana and Lala were just gonna get fisticuffs, and maybe that's why Scheana didn't want to do the show for this season. But I just found it funny. They showed this footage. It was good. Like, I'm glad that we saw Lacey, and they showed the footage, and they showed Jeremiah going off on Jesse because Jesse thought they were done filming, but they were not done filming. And all in all, I thought that stuff was very, very good. I enjoyed that a lot, actually, to be honest with you. So that stuff was cool. And then let's continue on here. So that goes into the sympathy. This is Lacey's first appearance on film with the group since that event. And Lacey goes up to Michelle and they have a conversation. Michelle's just expressing the fact that her and Jesse are in a better place than they were this time last year. But they haven't finalized their divorce yet. And she's just waiting for that to happen. And so they had a conversation there, and then Michelle goes straight to Lala, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like Michelle is trying to form this like high school like clique trio with herself and Janet and Lala, and she's running to Lala to talk shit about Lacey, saying basically that Lacey's fake and that she puts a front on. I don't know much about Lacey Nicole. I saw the interview that she had on KTLA because I wanted to get to know more about her. And she works in the medical field, and she is an entrepreneur. She's a philanthropist. She does a lot of great stuff in the mental health community as well. Beautiful woman as well, and I'm willing to give her a chance. I don't have any prerequisite reasons to judge her. I don't think there's any reason to judge Lacey, but Michelle said it basically at the end of the episode. Oh, Lacey likes to put a front on you and like, oh, I'm sweet to you in front of your face and then talk shit about you behind your back. I haven't got that vibe yet. I'm sure the rest of the season will tell the rest of that story, but I really enjoyed how that element of the show was there. I thought it was necessary, and I really think that the root of the drama for this season is going to be that dynamic with Lacey and Michelle and Jesse. And good for Michelle for getting out of her shell and speaking for herself. I think that's a great trait to have. As far as her and Schwartz possibly getting together, I'm fine with it. I would prefer Schwartz to get with Lala, but that's just me being a Katie Maloney hater. But besides that, all in all, I thought this is a very, very good debut episode. We had also an interesting plot twist, which is not true. Luke is not the father of Sosa, Lala's baby, so let's not put that out in the universe. But it was funny that he was a sperm donor and donated to the same chamber bank that Lala went to for her baby Sosa. She had a sperm donor for her second baby. So I thought that was an interesting revelation there towards the end of that episode as well. But no, Luke is not the father of Sosa, but I thought that was pretty funny. But that was pretty much it for this week's episode. Next week, they teased that they're going to show Sosa's second birthday party. Second or first, I'm not sure. I may have the years wrong, but no, it's first birthday party. Yes, so I'm excited to watch that. That should be pretty good. Also curious to see what Lala has to say on the next week's episode of Untraditionally Lala. One of the things that I was looking into for the episode this week and this season in general, is because we have a lot of people on the cast that have podcasts, right? Brittany has Reality Hits. Schwartz has Detox Retox. Lala has Untraditionally Lala, obviously. Janet has This Side of the Hill. She has a podcast. Kristen has a podcast called Balancing Act. So we have 5 members of the cast that have podcasts. I think even Lacey has a podcast of her own with her friends out in Orange County. So we got 6 different podcasts here with cast members. And, just from a conversational point of view, I wanted to see if the nature of the conversation would be just similar to how the podcast would be, or were these genuine and nuanced conversations. And I say for the most part, as I was watching the episode, I felt these were nuanced conversations. Obviously, a lot of these episodes of the shows like these or Vanderpump Rules are cut down and edited, and you don't get the full context of the entire conversation. But I didn't hear any podcasting voice. I didn't hear like a podcast conversation. I thought these were genuine conversations at that moment. And for the most part, I say a big props just to Alex Baskin, Jeremiah Smith, and the production crew. And they did a very good job with this episode. So I was very entertained. So salute to everybody for the Valley for their premiere of season 3. So all in all, 2 thumbs up for Joshie here, and I'm excited for the rest of the season. I think this could be a good one. With that being said, we're going to take our first break here, and then when we come back, I'm going to read a chapter from Scheana Shay's My Good Side, a memoir. I have the book here, and I'm going to read it for you guys here on the podcast. This is episode 4 of the Hoops Podcast, our relaunch, and we'll be right back. Yeet. Welcome back, everybody, to the SUR Files here, our final segment here for the podcast this week. Going to be reading Chapter 14 of Scheana Shay's My Good Side memoir. The book is out anywhere you get your books from. You can get the audiobook if you want as well. I have the hard book paper copy of this book because I'm old school and I like having these for collection purposes. And this is the first Vanderpump Rules book that I have ever owned. So shout out to my Taurus sister, if you will, Scheana Shay. By the way, I share a birthday with Scheana. We were both born on May 7th, so shout out to Scheana. So with that being said, let's read this out loud. All right. Chapter 14, Something Borrowed. Going into 2023, I was ready for change. Brock and I were fresh off of our wedding in Mexico, and after years of fighting for my place within the VPR fan group, I genuinely had true bonds with Tom, Ariana, Raquel, and Lala. I was still on a day rate, but I received double pay for each day of our wedding, and the show was featuring Brock more, so I felt like production finally realized that our story was still an integral part of the show, which was somewhat validating. That being said, it seemed like VPR was winding down and Brock and I had started discussing what our next chapter would be. We were hopeful and excited for the future, thinking about another possible show, continuing to grow my podcast and focusing on building our brand as a family. Brock is a big dreamer, which means we're always batting around new ideas. In light of this long-awaited enthusiasm and optimism, I definitely didn't expect for everyone's world to be blown up on March 1st with the eruption of Scandal. I think it's fair to say that I'm not always the best judge of character, and I have a blind spot for taking people at their word, especially when it comes to relationships, whether platonic or romantic. But one thing I pride myself on, even if it gets me in trouble at times, is that I'm a firm believer in giving people the benefit of the doubt. This means that sometimes I afford people too many chances, like Eddie and Shay. It's the way my mom raised me, to always put others first, to understand that everyone is human, and to realize that we all make mistakes which may not define who we are. Yet, no matter how many times I've been burned, I haven't been jaded from trying to see the best in others. Tom and Raquel's secret affair was a prime example, one that would ultimately reverberate not just among my castmates, but across the globe. While we were filming season 10, rumors began to circulate that Tom was cheating on Ariana, his girlfriend of nearly a decade with Raquel. Katie and Lala were the leaders of the pack, insinuating that Raquel was the type of girl to go after someone else's man. At the time, I thought they were overreacting because I couldn't believe Raquel and Tom would ever do that to Ariana. Raquel was one of our closest friends, and Tom and Ariana had been in a long-term serious relationship. It was the ultimate betrayal. Honestly, I thought that kind of thing only happened in movies, not in real life, and certainly not in my friend group. Beyond Katie and Lala's gossip, Allie Luber, who also witnessed Tom Raquel's connection at the Abbey in the West Hollywood in September 2022, shortly after my wedding to Brock, she alerted a few of us at the time, though it didn't air on VPR until April of 2023, a month after Scandal broke, when Allie said, "I saw Sandoval and Raquel dancing together at the Abbey after See You Next Tuesday, which was the event at SUR." She then added, "I personally wouldn't be comfortable to have my boyfriend out at 1 a.m. with girls." So before anyone could confirm the affair, the intimacy that Allie witnessed was the smoking gun, and her discomfort with Tom and Raquel's PDA made Katie and Lala even more suspicious. They couldn't understand why other people weren't recognizing the same thing. For my part, I'll admit I had some serious blinders on. As I said, I thought Tom and Raquel were good people and would never hurt Ariana like that. When Allie told me about her inkling, I replied that she was new to the group and didn't understand their close friendship. I thought she was just stirring the pot. I explained that the simple act of them dancing together was not a big deal, and that she was dramatizing an incident situation. I danced with Sandoval at the Abbey when Ariana wasn't there, so it didn't feel shady to me. Ariana was way more of a homebody than Tom, which meant that he was often out with friends, including Raquel, while Ariana was happily back at the house they shared doing her own thing. Allie then asked, "It wouldn't bother you if that had been Brock and Raquel?" I replied, "No. There's nothing weird about it. I would trust Brock in the same bed as Raquel. Let's stop making this a thing, because now it's just fueling Lala and Katie's distrust. Tom and Raquel would never do that." Allie heard what I was saying and apologized for being suspicious, recognizing that she didn't know them super well. She didn't want to spread rumors either. I told her it was okay, but not to bring it up again. Tom and Raquel were friends. That was it. The fact that Raquel and Tom Schwartz had kissed at my wedding also reassured me that nothing shady was going on with her and Sandoval, and Raquel had doubled down on Schwartz by insisting that she was so into him despite the fact that she was already secretly hooking up with Sandoval at the point. Gross. In hindsight, Raquel and Sandoval clearly hatched this plan to get people off their scent, with gossip still swirling. Season 10 wrapped in mid-September. 3 months later, on New Year's Eve, I was at Schwartz and Sandy's with Brock, our friends Will and Elaine, Raquel, Schwartz, Sandoval, and Ariana. I remember Raquel saying that she was hoping to be Schwartz's midnight kiss. They even exchanged a text about it. I thought that was cute, since they already kissed and I felt like they had chemistry. According to Raquel, the plan was that she would find Schwartz a few minutes before midnight so they could lock lips. But once midnight rolled around, Schwartz was out of sight, hiding in the bathroom because he didn't want to make out with her. I assumed that was just Schwartz being Schwartz because he can be skittish when it comes to stuff like that. He's never been someone to step up to the plate when it comes to women. Even though he's cute, charismatic, charming, and intelligent, he doesn't have a lot of game. When a pretty girl comes around, he gets insecure and runs away. Although in retrospect, I'm guessing he knew about Raquel and Sandoval and didn't want to be directly involved in their affair. Meanwhile, everyone else there was coupled up, and I felt badly for Raquel. After I kissed Brock, I kissed Raquel. It was the one time Brock was sort of okay with it because it was a pity kiss, not a sexually charged makeout. We were all best friends and one big happy family, so it was cool. It felt really good to be in an intimate setting surrounded by the people closest to me and married to the man I loved. As the bar was closing down and we were all figuring out where to go next, Sandoval suggested having everyone over to his and Ariana's house. Predictably, Ariana did not want that. She just wanted to go home and be with Tom because their anniversary was New Year's Day and it was a very important time for them. She was clearly annoyed and I understood her frustration. Tom is the guy who always wants to keep the party going, whereas Ariana wanted to be alone with her boyfriend, who, unbeknownst to her, wanted to be around Raquel. They then started fighting about it at the bar with raised voices. I wasn't completely shocked, though. It was the first time in a while that I had seen big cracks in the relationship. It made me sad because I always thought they were a solid couple, and I had a feeling something more was up. I pulled Ariana aside and asked if things were okay between them. No, they're not good, she admitted. I said, I get that. Let's hang out this weekend and talk about it. I want to be there for you. She agreed to hang out and reiterate that she was pissed with Tom, and I responded, don't worry, we're not coming to your house. I'm rallying the group to go to an after party on the west side. I'm sure you guys will work through it. The rest of us headed out, and I hoped Ariana and Tom would both cool off once they got home. Shortly thereafter, Janet revealed to me there was a night in the beginning of January when a few people got together at her house. Apparently, while Raquel and Sandoval were outside alone together, someone commented to Ariana about their closeness. Ariana stormed outside and said, I'm sick of hearing that people think that there's something going on between the two of you. Get your shit together and stop it. I believed then and believe now that Ariana didn't suspect something was going on. She just wanted them to stop feeding the chatter, which I could understand. As someone whose relationship had been picked apart, I knew what it was like to feel like you were under a microscope. Of course, it didn't end there. Later that month, I started taking dance classes with Raquel and our friend Jenny Ting. At the second class, we decided to go out for dinner, and Raquel said, I know these two bar owners who have a place in West Hollywood called Tom Tom. Should we go there? She played it off like she was joking since we all knew Sandoval and Schwartz, but we went anyway as it was close by. It turned out Tom and Tom were not in the house that night. I'm not sure what prompted me to do this, but I shared with Jenny that people were suspicious of Raquel and Sandoval. She knew Raquel and her family since they were teenagers, and I guess I thought she might be able to see something that I didn't. I said, Ariana thinks nothing's going on, but I have a strange feeling. Can you help me figure out if Raquel is hiding something? Jenny agreed. Throughout dinner, we questioned Raquel about how much she was hanging out with Tom until finally she said, Tom is my best friend. I'm closer with him than I am with Ariana I'm closer with him than I am with Ariana at this point. As he wants to break up with Ariana, but every time he's tried to bring it up, she threatens to kill herself. As one of Ariana's closest friends, I knew she'd been struggling with mental health issues for a long time, and that she had the ideations of suicide, so immediately I was concerned. Raquel went on to disclose that things were really bad between Ariana and Sandoval, which made me even more worried. I said, look, I get that you guys are really tight, but is there something more to it? She shook her head. I came to be clear. You're telling me that there's nothing's happened with you and Tom, right? He's never made a move on you, nothing physical. You guys have never kissed. She replied, God, no. As I said, he's my best friend. He feels comfortable confiding in me. I'm just there to listen. Raquel was so adamant about it that I wanted to believe her, but I said, do you want something to happen? Suddenly her face looked like the happy tear emoji on the iPhone. My antenna went up, and I pressed her again. Raquel, are you in love with Sandoval? She swore that she was not, but I wasn't sure. When I gave her a hug goodbye, I said, I know there's something you're not telling me. I hope nothing has happened with you and Sandoval. I'm sorry for whatever you seem to be going through, but this shit has to stop. You can't spend as much time with him. He needs to focus on his relationship with Ariana. After what Raquel had said about Ariana threatening to take her own life if Tom broke things off, I was very concerned about her mental health. I felt like I needed to make sure she was okay first and foremost, but in my head, I was also thinking that Raquel was in love with the boyfriend of one of her closest friends, and he was also one of her closest friends, and she knew she could never have him. Or maybe that was what I was chosen to believe. When I got in my car and called Jenny, she said, I think you might be right. She's definitely hiding something. And my gut instantly kicked in and I replied, right? Whether anything has happened or not, I don't know, but I feel like it could. What should I do? Jenny suggested that I talk to Ariana. I knew that she was correct, though I really didn't want to hurt Ariana unnecessarily, especially because she was already feeling the same suspicions for other people. I was concerned about her mental health. When I got home that night, Brock and I went into our hot tub and I told him what was going on. He raised his voice, which I didn't appreciate since we lived in a condominium complex, and said, why the fuck would you think of that? Let me rephrase that. I didn't appreciate since we lived in a condominium complex and said, why the fuck would you think that about two of your best friends. That's not Raquel or Tom's character. Since Tom had been my friend for years and we spent so much time with Raquel, Brock knew the two of them pretty well. He couldn't imagine them hurting Ariana, who he also loved like that. To Brock, Sandoval was my number one guy friend, not just in the group, but outside the show. Prior to Brock, he had been my person for many years. He even given me a few $1,000s during the pandemic when I had no income. My podcast had been canceled and I was pregnant. He was there for me when no one else was. Brock couldn't understand why I would buy into such a horrible idea about my best friend and my little sister. I said, it's just that I've got Lala and Katie in my ear, and he replied, fuck Lala and Katie. You know Tom and Raquel better than they do. Tom and Raquel wouldn't do that to Ariana. Brock totally changed my perspective, and I actually felt badly about assuming the worst. But I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. So the following week, I reached out to Ariana to see if she wanted to grab lunch. She either been busy or avoided me through January, so on February 1st, we met at this cute Italian restaurant, Boghetta Louie, in downtown LA. When we sat down, I said, I need to ask you something. Please don't get upset with me, but as your best friend, it's been on my mind, and I want to know what you're feeling. She said, sure, ask me anything. I took a deep breath and continued, do you think anything physical is going on with Tom and Raquel? Lala and Katie seem to. Ariana rolled her eyes and responded, oh my god, these fucking girls won't stay out of my relationship. No, I don't think anything's going on. You can trust me, Scheana. If Tom was going to cheat on me, Raquel would be the last person. They would never do that to me. I nodded and went on. I had dinner with Raquel recently. She said that Tom confide things in her about your relationship. I just want to check how your mental health is doing. Ariana said, honestly, Scheana, I'm doing so much better. Things are good. Tom and I are having sex, and I'm in a really good place. I have no idea if Ariana was being upfront with me, but she was very convincing in that moment. So I took her word for it, though I still couldn't completely let it go. Something wasn't sitting right with me. Later that day, I was recording a podcast in the Valley with my friend Kale, who is also friends with Raquel and a very intuitive human. I invited Raquel to come watch the podcast and told Kale my thoughts about her and Tom. After we wrapped the podcast, Raquel and I went outside to smoke a joint and talk some tea. With Kale within earshot, I revisited the conversation about Sandoval with Raquel, and again she denied. She even maintained that she heard what I said at dinner with Jenny and that was pulling back on her friendship with Sandoval. I told her I was relieved because I had lunch with Ariana earlier today and she'd been resolute in the fact that she and Tom were great. That night, I went out for drinks with Kale and Raquel. Kale was putting Raquel's feet to the fire about Sandoval while we were texting from across the table that she wasn't being forthcoming. He was asking her a lot of questions about the nature of her relationship with Tom and also why she stopped sharing her location with us. This triggered a memory for me from the week prior. After we were out one night, I texted Raquel to make sure she got home safely. When she didn't answer, I checked her location and it wasn't loading. She then responded to me a minute later saying that her parking garage didn't have service, so I didn't think of anything of it. Yet now it was bugging me. I said, I need to ask you something. I'm sorry to keep doing this, but why is your location turned off on your phone? She said, oh, I just prefer it that way. I replied, I don't think so. I've had your location for 1.5 years and suddenly it's not available. I think you're hiding something. What is it? Again, she said it was just a personal decision. She texted as soon as she got home after our drinks. Raquel even went one step further and texted me the following week when she was out without me to say that she was home safe. I recall thinking, I do appreciate it, but if your hands are clean, then turn your location back on. Obviously, I know that her location was off because she had gone various places with Tom, from Big Bear in St. Louis to Chicago and Northern California. At this point, I was almost positive that Raquel was lying, so I decided to take another approach and discuss it with Sandoval directly. Until this point, I held back on contacting him about it because I didn't want to insult him if I was totally wrong. I don't know why I kept pursuing it like a dog with a bone, mainly because if they had been honest with me, I would have told Ariana and that was the last position I wanted to be in. Yet clearly, I couldn't help myself. That Sunday, February 5th, a bunch of us were at Tata for the launch of Ariana's drink from the Whole cloudberry cocktail. Sandoval went outside to smoke a cigarette by himself, and I took Brock's joint and followed Tom into the back alley. It seemed like an organic moment as I ever had to talk to him without coming off as overly confrontational. Once we were standing face to face, I said to him, "Is there anything going on with you and Raquel?" Offended, he replied, "Why the fuck would you ask me that?" I said, "I think she has feelings for you," and he responded, "That's ridiculous. She's like a little sister to me." He then said, as Raquel had, nothing had ever happened between them. He seemed so hurt, and I felt sure he wouldn't lie to me, so I completely bought it. It's actually shocking to realize just how duplicitous they were and how gullible I was. Tom and I hugged it out, and I went back to the party to tell Brock he was right, even though he wasn't. A few weeks later, while I was in New York with Raquel doing press for VPR, the shit finally hit the fan. The night we arrived, we went to dinner with my friend Nima, a former cast member from Shaw's Sunset. Raquel and Nima had casually dated the year prior, so he knew her pretty well. Immediately he said to Raquel, "Your energy's off. I've never seen you like this." He wouldn't let it go, and I could tell Raquel was squirming, so I said, "Stop making her feel badly. She's been smoking weed and drinking. She's probably in another world." He agreed in that moment, but when Raquel got up to the bathroom, he doubled down that he felt she was hiding something. I mean, join the club, dude. Little did we know that right before that dinner, Raquel engaged in a very intimate FaceTime call with Sandoval, a conversation that was later uncovered by Ariana on Tom's phone. The next morning, Raquel and I set out for a full press day with outlets such as Us Weekly, New York Live, Page 6, and the Barstool Sports Chicks in the Office. As we were doing the interviews, I noticed that Raquel was uncomfortable with some of the questions. When she was asked something, she would direct her answer to me and avoid eye contact with the host. I could tell she was overwhelmed by the whole process. Up until that point, Raquel had only done interviews aside from her pageants with James by her side. He answered all of the questions, and then she would occasionally chime in. This was the first time she was on her own, whereas I was seasoned in media training, so I let her lean on me. On the way to the Chicks in the Office, which was our final stop before Watch What Happens Live, she said, "Can we please not do any more interviews?" I replied, "No. Chicks in the Office is at Barstool Sports is one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done." I reached for her hand, interlocked my fingers with her, and added, "I got your back. I'll complete your sentences if I had to." After this, we only have Watch What Happens Live, which will be so fun. She relented and thanked me. That night on Watch What Happens Live, we played a little game where Andy asked us a bunch of questions, one of which was, which Tom is hotter, Sandoval or Schwartz? Raquel and I got a point for every question we answered the same way. I was positive Raquel was going to say Schwartz because of the whole storyline with her at my wedding. I generally think Schwartz is the better looking of the Toms, but I also knew that Sandoval's feelings would be hurt if we both said Schwartz. So I figured we wouldn't get a point for that one. But when Andy said 1, 2, 3, Raquel blurted Sandoval too, I had a huge reaction on live TV as it was so unexpected. And when we went to a commercial break, even Andy said he was confused. Raquel just shrugged and maintained Sandoval has better abs, which was true. Schwartz had more of a dad bod. Once we wrapped Watch What Happens Live, we went to a bar called Brass Monkey on Little West 12th Street with some of my friends and some people who worked at Bravo. We downed a few drinks, but as they were closing the bar and turning off the lights, we couldn't find Raquel. Someone said she was in the bathroom, so we went outside to wait for her. That was when Raquel, who was clearly intoxicated, came out of the bar with Ariana on speakerphone. All I could hear was Ariana crying on the phone, and I thought, oh shit, this is not good. Immediately, I got tunnel vision with the sole purpose of protecting Ariana. I told my friends to take the brown people somewhere else, and we'll meet them there. I wanted to figure out what was wrong before anyone in the network got wind of it. So I said to Raquel, "What's going on?" She looked at me blankly and confessed, "Tom Sandoval and I have been having an affair for 7 months. Ariana just found out." My jaw dropped and I completely lost it. Fury rose in my chest and I knew that she was a fucking liar. I snatched her phone out of her hand and said, "Ariana, Scheana, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to be true." I was sobbing. She was sobbing. Raquel was just standing there like a lost Bambi with her eyes wide open. If Bambi had stolen his closest friend's boyfriend, I heard Tom screaming at Ariana in the background. On instinct, I hurled Raquel's phone as far as I could into a gutter into the street. It was so surreal and kind of eerie. There we were at 2 a.m., in the middle of New York City without a single person or car in sight. I then marched over to Raquel, got in her face and screamed, "How can you do this?" All she could say was, "I'm sorry," pitifully, before grabbing my wrist so I couldn't walk away. She wanted me to listen to her, but instead I pushed her off. She came back towards me, so I shoved her again. This time she stumbled into the wall of the building behind her. I yelled, "I cannot believe how disgusting you are," and I left her there. Once I returned to the hotel, I called Ariana and said I had pushed that bitch and threw her phone into the street. Ariana had me on speakerphone and Tom could hear from the background. Apparently he thought I said I punched that bitch. I'll admit there was a lot of emotions that night, but I did not punch Raquel. The amusing thing is that one of my friends overheard Raquel from the hallway in her room talking to someone about that night, saying that I reacted reasonably and that she wasn't upset with me. She said she deserved it. Agreed. But her notes changed after speaking to Sandoval. My guess is that Tom said something like, "I heard Scheana punched you. Are you okay?" And then Raquel took that and ran with it, partly because she was questioning what actually happened, since she was too intoxicated to remember, and also because it seemed like she was being encouraged to reclaim the narrative by becoming the victim. When we got back to LA, Ariana told production everything. She refused to protect Tom and Raquel. Why should she? They betrayed her in the worst possible way. As soon as that happened, the word slowly started circulating around the cast, and just like that, Scandal exploded. There you go. That's Scheana Shay's My Good Side, a memoir by Scheana Shay. Very interesting stuff. I will say this. When you look at the situation and what I just read there, for Scheana to play it off as she didn't know what was going on, but she seemed to be probably more invested into whether this was true or not, more than Katie and Lala, which was the point of contention that she expressed in this book, then why... something felt off from Scheana here, and I can't put a finger on it. Like, yeah, obviously we found out the truth, and both Tom and Raquel lied to her. There's no denying that. But something felt very off to me about her saying, like, it's just me, but I feel like she knew the whole time. Like, if you're that consistent and that persistent, like, okay, you said that Tom is one of your best friends and you cared about him like a brother and you loved him and he was there for you for a long time, and it was there for you as much as Brock was. And you say that you love the guy, but you are so persistent, even more than Katie and Lala, that he was cheating on Ariana. But you're only looking into Ariana's mental health. I don't know. Just something about it just felt very odd to me. I have a feeling that she knew for a long time that this was happening and didn't tell Ariana and let Ariana figure it out for herself. I feel like that's what happened. It's a shame. Obviously, this is something that shouldn't have happened. People make mistakes. I'm not going to make any excuses for Tom, for Raquel, nor did I did in the audiobook that I wrote. But when you look at that situation, it's just a goddamn shame that it happened in the first place. I'll be honest with you. It really is. It shouldn't have happened. And there's another chapter in there called No Son of Scandal. I'll read that one for next week. But I wanted to read that chapter for you guys because I thought it was important, especially given the audiobook that I just wrote and recorded for you guys last week. But on that note, we're going to wrap it up for this episode of the SUR Files. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. If you want to follow me on X, you can at The Hoots Podcast. I'm on Instagram at Josh Lopez Music. Make sure to follow us on TikTok. That's our main page at SUR Files, SUR Files. Big following there. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the SUR Files. Yes, we're currently at 20 subscribers. We're on our road to 1,000 subscribers. So help us out on that front. And don't forget, our good brother Matt McCool will be joining us next Wednesday as we'll recap episode 2 for season 3 of The Valley and what's to come up next and all this summer house drama and more to come here in this new project of the SUR Files. I appreciate the support, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm Joshie. This has been episode 4 of the SUR Files. Remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Yeet.